I have been to 11 weddings in my life. I remember details from all of them. The flowers at Sophie's wedding in Portland, the rain at Courtney's ceremony in Savannah, the way the groom cried at every single one, without fail, when he saw his bride come through the doors. I remember every detail from Cassidy's wedding, too. I just remember them differently. Cassidy Mercer was my best friend for 19 years. We met in the 7th grade at Jefferson Middle School in Naperville, Illinois, 2 weeks into the fall semester, when she sat down next to me in English class and asked if she could borrow a pen. She never gave it back. I never asked. That was the kind of friendship it was. When she called me in October to tell me she was engaged, I was standing in the parking lot of a Whole Foods in Chicago, and I screamed loud enough that a man loading groceries into his car turned around. His name was Elliot Rowe. She had known him for 14 months. I asked her everything a best friend asks. How did he propose? What's he like? Does he make you laugh? She said yes to all of it, and I believed her, because Cassidy did not lie to me. In 19 years, she had never once told me something that wasn't true. That's what made it so hard later. She wasn't lying, she just didn't know. I met Elliot at dinner in November, a restaurant on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. His suggestion, his reservation, his credit card at the end of the night, no questions asked. He was 41, 11 years older than Cassidy. Tall, controlled, the kind of man who speaks quietly because he's learned that quiet men get listened to more carefully. He was charming. I want to be honest about that. He was very, very charming. He asked me questions about myself, and he listened to the answers, and he remembered details from early in the evening and referenced them later. He touched Cassidy's hand twice during dinner. He walked her to the car. Driving home on I-90, I called my sister and said, "Something is off about him." She asked what. I said, "I don't know yet. I found out about the money in January, not from Cassidy, from her brother Liam, who got unusually talkative at a family dinner I'd been invited to and said something he immediately tried to take back. He said, at least Elliot came through when it mattered." Cassidy's mother's face went still in a way I had never seen it go still. Liam looked at his plate. I looked at Cassidy. She was refilling everyone's glasses and hadn't heard. I didn't ask about it that night. But I didn't forget it either. Cassidy's father, Dr. Robert Mercer, had been diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer in the spring of 2 years ago. Cassidy had told me. I had flown to Naperville from Chicago the same weekend. I had sat in that living room on Bramblewood Court and held her hand while she cried. What she had not told me, what I did not learn until February, when Liam finally told me the full story, was that the treatment had cost $340,000. The Mercer family did not have $340,000. Elliot Rowe did. He had paid for every dollar of Dr. Mercer's treatment at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He had done it quietly, through a private arrangement with the family. Before he and Cassidy had been dating for 3 months, Dr. Mercer was alive, in remission. He would walk his daughter down the aisle in 4 months, because of the man she was marrying. I want to tell you what I felt when Liam told me this. My first feeling was gratitude. Genuine, uncomplicated gratitude. A man had saved my best friend's father's life. My second feeling arrived about 30 seconds later. I asked Liam if Cassidy knew. He looked at his hands. I asked again. He said, "We didn't want her to feel like she had to. She didn't know. Her father was alive because of the man she was going to marry, and no one had told her. They had made a decision. Her parents, her brother, her aunts who had been present at the conversations I was only now learning about. That Cassidy should not know the full weight of what Elliot had done. I understood the logic. If she knew, every choice she made would be shadowed by it. Every yes would carry the question, is this love or is this debt? I understood the logic. I didn't accept it. But I also didn't call Cassidy that night. I told myself I needed more information. The document took me 3 weeks to find. I wasn't looking for a document specifically. I was looking for the shape of Elliot Rowe, who he was before Cassidy, what he had done with his money and his charm and his quiet, careful attention before he turned it on my best friend. What I found was not what I expected. Elliot Rowe had not given the Mercer family $340,000. He had structured it as a loan. The terms were in writing. A private agreement signed by Dr. Robert Mercer and witnessed by a notary in Cook County. Repayment terms listed as to be determined by mutual agreement of parties upon satisfaction of specified conditions. The specified condition was listed in the final paragraph. It was the marriage. I sat in my apartment on North Clark Street in Chicago, and I read that paragraph 4 times. He had not saved her father out of love. He had saved her father as a transaction. The marriage was the repayment. Dr. Mercer had signed his daughter's future to keep himself alive, and he had done it before Elliot had known Cassidy for 90 days. I thought about the dinner on Michigan Avenue, the quiet voice, the hand on Cassidy's hand, the credit card at the end of the night. I thought about how carefully it had all been constructed. Then I found the second thing. It took me one afternoon and a county records search in Maricopa County, Arizona. Elliot Rowe had been married in 2019. In Scottsdale, a woman named Catherine Reyes Rowe. There was no record of a divorce. I called Liam. I asked him if he knew. The silence on the phone lasted long enough that I had my answer before he spoke. He said, "It's complicated." I said, "She's still his wife, Liam." He said, "They've been separated for 4 years. It's basically over." I said, "Basically." He said nothing. I said, "Does your father know?" He said, "Dad just wants Cassidy to be taken care of." I sat with that sentence for a long time after I hung up. Taken care of. By a man who was still legally married to someone else, who had purchased her father's survival, who had built a courtship so careful and deliberate that my best friend, the smartest person I have ever known, had never once suspected any of it. The wedding was in 6 weeks. I drove to Naperville the next Saturday. I didn't call ahead. I needed to see their faces before they had time to arrange them. Dr. Mercer opened the door, holding a cup of tea. He looked better than he had in 3 years. Healthy. Alive. He stepped aside without asking why I was there. I walked into the living room, uninvited, and laid the loan agreement and the Arizona marriage records flat on the coffee table. I waited for someone to react, for Mrs. Mercer to gasp, for Liam to push back from the table, for Dr. Mercer to set down his tea and ask what these were. Nobody moved. Mrs. Mercer was looking at her husband. Liam was looking at the floor. And Dr. Mercer, alive, healthy, 3 years past a death sentence, was looking straight at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. He didn't blink. He didn't reach for the papers. He just said, "We know." And I understood, in that second, that I was the last person in the room to find out. Part 2 drops tomorrow. Subscribe. Don't look away.